Hey chat, welcome back. It's been a fat minute since I last recorded. I think it's been about 4 months or so. I'm just gonna be rambling today, filling you in on what I've been doing, which I still feel very out of whack. Still maybe like the teensiest bit jet lagged. I was just in Europe for a little bit over 2 weeks. It was really fun. But other than that, I've just been working and trying to figure my shit out, basically, like job wise. Um, it's always something I've struggled with and get in my head about a lot because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same way. But I'm still at the same job that I've been at for, how long has it been now? Dude, I have no concept of time. I think like a year and a half. That's a long time for me to be at one job, by the way. I think maybe 2 years would be the longest amount of time I've ever been at one place. But there was also like a 2 month gap during that time because I had went out for surgery. And then I had switched shifts. I went from like a night shift to a day shift, so it also just felt completely different. That's probably the only reason why I stayed at that job as long as I did. Because if I don't change my shit up regularly, I just feel like sad and trapped, and it's just like monotony, you know? But yeah, currently still at the same job working as a phlebotomist at a plasma center. Some days are fine, other days make me want to saw my head off, you know, I'm sure just like any other job. I just got a promotion though, so that's pretty cool, you know, more money. And yeah, like I can afford to live on my own and stuff. Of course, I live in an apartment like this big, so, you know, but it's good. I guess I can't really complain too much. Going to be moving in with a friend too, so that's another thing I'll have to get all figured out is, you know, finding a new place and just moving all the shit. I love it and I hate it, you know, because it's like new and exciting, but then obviously whatever, like whenever you're not at work or like doing something important that you need to do, you are at home boxing up all your shit, and it's so stressful, you know, like for me, I feel like I can't sleep well at night knowing that like all my things aren't where they're like supposed to be. So it's definitely, you know, a stressful time, but also good. It is February, so that'll be in April. Oh, Jesus, it's coming up really soon. But yeah, the trip was super fun. We went to the Netherlands first for a few days and then took a train into Belgium. Really just the city center of Brussels, to be honest. It's all we had time for because that was only like 2 days. And then after that, we took a train into France. We stayed in a little rural village. I'm not gonna say it right, but it was like Pressy-sur-Oise. I did not say that right at all. About 30 miles north of Paris. So when we were in France for a few days, we would take the train down into Paris. I wish we had explored more of like the actual like countryside itself, but you know, a bit limited on time, so we did the best that we could. And then after France, we took a train into Germany, into Cologne and Dusseldorf, and then kind of out in like a suburby area of something else I would definitely butcher if I attempted to say it. I'm not gonna lie, for this trip, I did not prepare at all with languages. Maybe if we were there for like, at least a month or something, and we were focused on like one or maybe two countries, then I would have locked in a little bit. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, did not I did not learn any of the languages at all. But to be honest, it wasn't an issue, except maybe in France. Most people hardly spoke any English there, but everywhere else, they would hear you speak in English and then they would immediately just do that too. So that was no big deal. Um, but yeah, after Germany, we went back up to the Netherlands to finish off the trip. So it was basically just like a circle that we did, just all by train. We took we flew out from Seattle to Iceland, had like an hour or so layover in Iceland, and that journey was 8 hours. And then from Iceland to Amsterdam, it was another 3 hours. So that's the longest flight I've ever taken. Before that, I think the longest has only been like what? Actually, no, when I came here, I guess about 8 hours, but total, where I had like one 3 hour flight and then one 5 hour flight in like a layover in between. But yeah, like 8 hours altogether is rough, and then having to hustle your shit through like the passport control area when you only have like an hour layover is very scary, very, very stressful. um Luckily, the Iceland airport is pretty small, so it's easy enough to get through quickly if you have to. I'd also just like to go to Iceland to see Iceland one day, because, I mean, obviously, everything about it seems super cool from what I've seen online. I'd be burping. But yeah, honestly, if you are from America and have always wanted to go to Europe, I would just do it. I mean, it's a great experience. And for the most part, it's like way cleaner and just nicer in pretty much every aspect than it is here. Of course, I also suppose it depends on where you live in the US, if you are from here. Because, like, don't get me wrong, I love Seattle and everything, but from all the other places I've been in this country, it's definitely, like, the city itself, is probably like the dirtiest, just mainly in terms of the drugs, like the needles on the ground and like those kinds of people lingering about. But other parts of this country obviously are very beautiful and have very minimal, if hardly any, of that. But in Europe, there was not, at least where we went, it was nothing close to like what it is here. Yeah, super clean. Honestly, like if I had to rank the countries, I would say like Netherlands was S tier. It was amazing in every way. Food, people, getting around was pretty simple. Like, all the transportation. Just the architecture, things to do, everything was phenomenal. And yes, would be Netherlands, and then Germany. Germany's huge, so I mean, we only just went to Cologne and Dusseldorf, but I'm just ranking it based on what I saw and experienced in my very short time of being in each country. So yeah, Netherlands, Germany, Belgium, and France would be last. I have heard of Paris syndrome before, where tourists go there and they're just kind of disappointed. Like it's not what they thought it would be like. And I wasn't expecting anything super duper glamorous, and like I didn't expect it to look like a movie set or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty dirty. But so are like most other cities, but apparently not anywhere in the Netherlands. I guess the Netherlands was like on another level. It was pristine. Um, but Paris, I guess, because I know people would get mad about this because you either feel like you either love or hate Paris. I don't know. I wouldn't say I hated it though, but it was definitely the most disappointing. From what I saw when I was there, all the streets, wherever we were, and we went to a good portion of it. Again, our time was limited, but I know like the names of all the places we went to in my head, but I would not know how to say it for the life of me. So, but we went to like the giant cemetery they have there, which is probably my favorite part. You could literally spend an entire day just walking around in there. It is that big. And very ancient graves too, extremely old. Lots of like famous people have been buried there and whatnot, and the graves themselves are just stunning. Just like a lot of them are massive, and the like the stonework and the architecture of it all is just I could just stare at it forever. A lot of it has like the older graves look like they've been a bit vandalized and stuff like that, but there's a bug flying around. I feel like that kind of adds to the vibe though. I don't know, because it's just so old, and I would highly recommend that. I think it was called like Le Chase something, Le Chase Cemetery. But yeah, in Paris it's like the eastern kind of side over there. But we pretty much walked like the whole top half of Paris. We didn't really go under that. Would have liked to see Notre Dame, but I totally forgot about that at the time. But we went near where the Eiffel Tower was, but didn't go like right by it. Around the Louvre, that big museum with all the super famous painters that everybody knows. Did not go in because it was, obviously that kind of area is like tourist central. It was really busy. But we just walked around, and that was really cool to see. Just the building itself is just gigantic. Yeah, it just looks stunning. And we had also gone up into the Montmartre area, in like the northwestern kind of side. But yeah, all up in there. Yeah, pretty much a decent chunk of the whole northern half of Paris, I would say we walked around for like, I don't know, dawn to dusk essentially every day that we were in Europe. So but in my opinion, yeah, like I was saying, all the streets in Paris like looked the exact same, and I did look it up, and I guess it was like a purposeful thing that they had just wanted it to be that way back then. So it's like all the buildings, they just are copies of each other basically. Pretty much every street had at least one pharmacy on it. like every street, you would see that green cross symbol outside. Um, and then every corner of every street was a restaurant, and they all had like the same style chairs outside, same tables, same awning over the restaurant. And to me, it just got to be looking a little bit repetitive. It just wasn't exciting. But I mean, we also had started our trip off strong with the Netherlands, where, like, the buildings and architecture over there is just completely different. Um, and I guess maybe I'm more of a fan of, I don't know, like Amsterdam and like all that stuff. Um, all the buildings, like, they're just kind of like quirky, like they're all not complete, because that's not like Paris is like completely uniform. Amsterdam was the exact opposite, because you have all these different sizes of buildings, and they're all like kind of crooked and slanted, and then sometimes like you walk down a street and all the buildings are like looking like they're gonna topple over into the canal. Like, they're all just like very imperfect but very beautiful, and I like that a lot. That's, I think, my favorite style. And just the aspect of having the canals too, I think, is pretty sweet. Um, it just looks so cool. But literally every alleyway, every little nook and cranny in everywhere that we went to in the Netherlands was stunning. Like, here, like where I live, you go down an alleyway, you expect to see like shit on the ground and overflowing dumpsters and like people leaned over. But there would be like, you go to like a tiny little alleyway that you would have to like squeeze through basically, and there would be like just bars and all this stuff down there. Yeah, that was really fun. We did try authentic stroopwafels, and if you are not aware, this goes for like anywhere, I would assume. To get like authentic food and stuff like that, you never want to go into like one of those touristy shops. You want to, get it from the original source, which in this case is, I think the street is called De Pip, or like in that area. There's like a bunch of food trucks and like outdoor vendors. And that's where you're supposed to go to get like original stroopwafels. When we were doing our research, which for us was just like watching YouTube videos, everyone was saying that Rudy's on that strip had like the original best authentic stroopwafels, which we didn't go there. We went to another one on the same street though, and I'm sure it would have probably been the same, because if you go to a touristy shop, they're gonna give you one stroopwafel for like 10 to 12 euros from what we saw. But on that street, it's like 3 euros. So, yeah, no, it was really good. We did try the fries or frites in the Netherlands, because that's another thing they're known for, is putting like a weird twist on fries. Like, they use this type of like mayo, or like different sauces, pretty much whatever you want on them, and like cheese and stuff, which I originally, like, I was not super passionate about trying them, I guess, because like in all reality, fries are fries. They're just gonna taste like fries with different sauces on them, and that's pretty much what they were. Like, I wasn't super blown away or anything like that, because like yeah, they were great, they're awesome, but at the end of the day, they're fries. So, but yeah, all in all, in the Netherlands, we obviously went to Amsterdam a few times. The red light district too is super fun to walk down, a bunch of cool bars and stuff. And probably my biggest culture shock was seeing the sex workers like all lit up and half naked in the windows. And at one point, I remember I was on my phone, not looking at them, and then they like tap on the glass at you, and that was pretty crazy to see. Yeah, red light district, super fun. And yeah, Amsterdam and Haarlem, which is right outside of Amsterdam, not too far. Just took a train over there. That was so cute. It looked like just a mini Amsterdam. Really adorable. Utrecht, which in my head I just think of Miffy because that's where that Miffy statue is, and they have a Miffy streetlight and a bunch of Miffy stores because that's Miffy was born in the Netherlands, just like Hello Kitty is to Japan. Miffy, the little bunny, is to the Netherlands. So yeah, very, very cute. What else? Yeah, Utrecht and Rotterdam, which is one of their more modernized cities, because I had looked it up and apparently all the old architecture that was there is gone because it got destroyed in World War II. So Rotterdam looks way different than all of their other cities, or at least all the other cities that we saw. The Hague, we went there too. I don't know, maybe we were just there on the wrong day, but there wasn't like that much stuff there in my opinion. Like maybe after seeing like Amsterdam and all that stuff, it just didn't seem as wild and crazy. But of course, it's not like we went to every street and like, and plus doing all this in like the dead of winter, essentially, I'm sure the vibes would be way more different when the weather's warm. Of course, that means way more crowds and tourists and more money, but which I definitely do plan to go back specifically to the Netherlands when it is warm, to see the tulips as well. We did stay in Lees on our second trip back to the Netherlands, and that is like the tulip field place. Obviously it's all dead and not there in January, but still, that little town of Lees, oh my god, it's so cute. It's so cute. And wow, I can't think. Yeah, I think those are all the cities we went to in the Netherlands. We didn't really go to the northern part, like up over Amsterdam. We did not explore that, so I'd love to go back and see more. We went to a theme park as well called Efteling, and it was really fun. Basically, I mean, my friend has been to Disney and stuff like that. I never have been. I've only been to like Six Flags, regular kind of parks where, they're just regular roller coasters. But he was comparing it to like a Disney kind of vibe because most of the rides there are like shows. They're mostly like, just like slower rides where, you go in and it's just all this beautiful scenery and like animatronic people and animals that are like talking, and they looked really, really realistic though. It was kind of crazy. And yeah, there was this one ride called Dance Macabre. Am I saying that right? Macabre? I always see the word all the time in writing, but just don't know if I'm ever saying it right. But that was like a whole, I mean, you can look up videos of what the ride is on YouTube too, but it was like a whole symphony, like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just like the experience itself. You have to go. If you're gonna go to the Netherlands, like, the Netherlands, like, it's small enough where you can easily, even in the limited time we had, we could still go to all these cities and like do stuff. So if you're gonna go to Efteling if you like theme parks. Um, but yeah, it was just all very creative and original and just super fun. Um, what else? Yeah, and then we went to Brussels. That was cool to see. We went to Grand Place in Brussels, which is like the city center. So obviously tourists, but again, perks of going in the winter is that the crowds are like hardly any. Um, it was magnificent. Obviously tried Belgian waffles and chocolate, and it was top tier. We stopped into a gay bar called Le Homo Erectus or something like that. And literally, in the bathroom, like behind where the urinals are, they were playing gay porn. And they had like a little sofa there so you could just sit down and have fun. But we did go into a few gay bars, and pretty much all of them played gay porn on a screen somewhere. So, interesting. They're not afraid of like, well, obviously with all their like naked statues and stuff in those areas, they're not afraid of nudity at all, or just like sex, you know. It's just out in the open. Um, but yeah, we didn't stay in Belgium for very long, but it was very much like France vibes too, where you know, a little more grimy. You're gonna see a few tents and like homeless, and people are gonna like come up and ask for money or whatever. But yeah, there was, yeah, honestly, when we were in Paris, it was like maybe like every 20 minutes someone would come up like asking for something. But yeah, I'm glad I experienced it because, you know, the one thing I did not try in Brussels was the beer, because I am simply just not a fan of beer. But I know they're like, that's what they're known for. Like, a lot of their bars over there just only have beer, which is very unfortunate for someone like me. And yeah, lastly, Germany. I definitely have to go back to Germany too. Because, like I said, it's quite big compared to the other places we went, minus France. France might be bigger. I don't know, I'm not looking at a map right now. But yeah, because we just stayed in Cologne and Dusseldorf, and when you get to the train station in Cologne, you step out and that giant cathedral is just right there. I don't remember what it's called, but it's like a super giant, you could not miss it in a million years kind of cathedral. Absolutely stunning. And that's what those two cities were like. You know, a lot of it was more modern, like the kinds of buildings that you would see in this country, in the U.S. Yeah, modernized like city buildings, but you know, way more clean, way more taken care of. But then you would just like turn a corner and see some sort of like castle thing, or like some beautiful stonework. So that was really cool. And we did go to the one museum in Dusseldorf. Gonna butcher this again. Like, it's Kunstplast or something like that. I don't know. That was really cool. At the time we went, it had like a feminine words. Hello. Like a female painter exhibit where it was just like primarily works done by famous female painters, mainly portraits and stuff like that, and that was really cool. Um, yeah, and I definitely want to see other parts of Germany, specifically Berlin, and I'd like to just go out because we didn't really go out into the countryside. But I want to see because they have like the most castles out of like almost anywhere else, I think. So I definitely would love to go back and see all of that stuff, just like the old architecture. Um, but yeah, all in all, it was a really solid trip. Obviously, could have been longer, but what vacation? Yeah, like anytime you go on vacation, it could always be longer, right? um, but the goal is to definitely go back when it's warmer, even if that does mean higher prices and more tourists. Oh, and another couple things I noticed about being over there was how just kind and friendly all the people were. Again, minus France, which no one was exactly mean. I don't think we came across anyone that was like outright mean or rude. But just talking like friendliness factor, the Netherlands again, dude, like the service everywhere was amazing. You know, people just strike up conversations with you, or if people would overhear that we were confused about like where we were going, like they would just go out of their way to help. Um, Same with Germany, they were super nice. And we did not need to take out euros either, hardly at all. The only country that we did was Germany, where I remember one night we had tried to go to like 3 different restaurants and they all had signs that said cash only. And at the time we just didn't have any cash on us. So that was a big thing in Germany, was a lot of the restaurants and stuff is cash only. But there are ATMs literally everywhere, so it's easy enough. And we didn't get any like weird fees for taking out money, so that's not something. If you're That's something that's a concern to you, I would not bother to worry about that at all. Um, Whereas the Netherlands was mostly they only wanted card. They didn't prefer cash at all, so it was interesting. They had people just being so friendly, and a lot of the Dutch people, like they also speak English as well. From what we saw, like we had zero issue with that. So, and oh my god, the specifically the pastries. The pastries in Germany were exquisite. I don't know the names of what we got, but everything we did get was just, oh my god, so good. Um, like right when we got into the train station in Cologne, we just went to one of the little um, places in there to like, grab a little snack. And dude, the pastries, so amazing. It seemed like where we were in the Netherlands and Germany also had a plethora of Asian places, and it was all fire. And we did go into the grocery stores in the Netherlands as well. Mainly Albert Heijn seems to be like one of their biggest chains, because we did see it like everywhere. And dude, because I am pescatarian, so I don't eat meat at all except fish or just any kind of seafood. And the options for like meatless or like vegan stuff too is just, I've never seen that amount of food that I can eat in one place ever. Same with their McDonald's and Burger King. We did go to those, and again, quite a few different types of burgers, or like chicken sandwiches or chicken nuggets that were vegan that you could choose from. So that was great. And I I miss that a lot. But yeah, I don't think my little brain can think of much more. But yeah, thank you for listening to my yapping. It also just feels good to do this as sort of just like a video diary for myself as well. But yeah, now it's got me thinking about traveling more and stuff. I think next time I go somewhere, I definitely want to go back to the Netherlands and Germany, like I said, and also the UK. I think that would be cool. Just pretty much all the places in the UK I'd like to see. And then after that, probably somewhere in Asia, like Japan or Thailand, something like that. But yeah, um, thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay. All right. Fuck. I feel awkward. All right.